Alright, so I thought I'd make a quick video just regarding wiring harnesses. I'm still working on the 1972 F350 service body, and right now what we're looking at is a factory wiring harness. Basically the main harness, all the kind of sub-harness that plug into it, right there at the beginning of it, starting back at the alternator and voltage regulator, working all the way up through the cab, heater, instrument cluster, all that. You can see the fuse block in the back. Now as I started going through this, you know, I'm adding a lot of new items. I've got a 140 amp Power Master alternator. It's a one-wire alternator. I've got two batteries. You know, I've got a tilt-out Pioneer receiver. I've got about 7 or 8 gauges now. So I'm really adding a lot. My major concern with a lot of this is just all the contacts in the ignition switch, in the headlight switch, and not overloading that and causing any issues. Now, one thing to note on these older Fords, like 67 through 72, they have what they call a pink resistor wire, and this wire here. Now, if you also notice up here, this brown wire off the starter relay, it gives 12 volts, kind of what I'm assuming, to the ignition to get it started, and then as soon as you release off it, the starter disengages, winds down, then it goes back to the pink ballast resistor wire. Now, a couple things I'm finding as I'm going through this. I found one wire here that was pretty badly damaged. I found one area where it may have been even grounding. Come on. I don't know if you can see that, but basically you can see, if I can try and get that thing to, yeah, there we go. You can see it's exposed, and as we trace it back here, all the way back into near the wire, near the, this will be the ignition switch, it's gotten very hot at some point. You can see how this insulation stretched, and it's actually opened up in a few places. Now, all this was original harness. It was all factory taped, and I just cut it back. You know, I've got about 8 old trucks, and you know, anytime you start adding a bunch of stuff, it's just safer to go through and make sure that the integrity of the wiring, if you're going to choose to use it, is still in good shape. The other wire here, if I can find it really quick, let's see here. So this would be, let's see, that one we looked at. So I can find it here. Ah, here it is. So this is the brake light switch. Mounted up on the brake pedal, has like contactors. Now, if you see on this back wire here, this obviously either had a short somewhere in it where it was drawing a lot of current, basically overheated the wire to the point where it's basically compromised the insulation pretty much through it. So that's just something I'm going to probably replace. I've got another harness up in my garage, up in my shop area. The other one too that I'm noticing is that anywhere the wiring, you can see where I pulled the tape back, where this was all just exposed to the engine, you can see how basically stiff that is. It's basically the insulation, the wire's just gotten, from this engine heat and just age, it's gotten pretty stiff. So I'll probably go back through and put new loom on this, as long as the wire's okay. Now, for fuse blocks, what I'm doing is I have these nice, first one I picked up one down, I was out in Napa, and I was looking at this Bussman mini fuse block. You can see it's got a nice silicone seal around it. Takes MetroPack 280. It's a bust fuse block, so each one of these studs connected to a bus. So it's a 20 circuit fuse block, so that, you know, left hand, right hand side are individually bust. So you don't need to supply a power wire, only your distribution off to where device you're powering. Now, a couple of these are, this one I think is just a universal block, so it's not bust at all. So you have to supply basically the input side from, you know, battery or a relay into it, and then going through the fuse out to your item. And on the other side here, you can see where we can add relays into it. These two are bus, so obviously I've got, I think I've got 10 circuits here, and I've got 5 relay slots. So what I'll be doing is I've got a battery isolator. I'll be running 2 batteries, separating most of my non-essentials. Since this will be a work truck, having caution light, you know, any kind of beacons or any kind of work lights on the back of it. You know, I'll be having that draw off a separate battery from the more critical things like, you know, starting starter, ignition, all that's going to be off a separate battery. So probably what I'll end up doing is eliminating the factory fuse block and routing most of it through the new fuse blocks. That way I just have to stock, you know, I have to probably carry backup, you know, mini fuses with me. So anyway, I thought I'd just share that really quick as I start going through this. If you do need any kind of electrical supplies, I'd highly recommend Del City. Obviously, this first Busman block I got down in Napa, and they just don't have the correct. They take MetroPack 280 terminals and the boots, and so the rest of these here I got all from Del City. Del City, you know, fast shipping. So anyway, I thought I'd share that. All right, bye.